I say, what for? And they said, oh, well, some are a little embarrassed, but then they say, it's a good luck charm. I said, excuse me, a good luck charm? Oh, yes. When somebody goes into a new business, into a new job, into a new apartment, we buy this for them. We buy this for them as an amulet for good luck. And what it is reinforcing that stereotype. And now it becomes what? It goes into a corner of a home, maybe next to a religious object, I don't know. And so I had the opportunity to meet with the Minister of Education. And I said, I know you cannot ban the sale of things, but shouldn't we prepare or do an educational effort in the schools to teach the students that this is ugly, this is pernicious, this can hurt? And the minister said to me, oh, Mr. Foxman, why are you getting so upset? Nobody died because of that. Wrong thing to say to me. I asked them, how many locals handed over their Jews to the Germans because they believed they would become rich? I said to him, tell that to Ilan Hilmi's family. Ilan Hilmi is a young man that 4 years ago was captured, was kidnapped in the streets of Paris by a gang, a Muslim African gang, who kidnapped him because, as they said in court, Jews are rich. And if you want to become rich, all you have to do is kidnap a Jew, hold him for ransom, and you'll become rich. And so when people say, and then they weren't rich and they didn't have the money and they killed him. And so when people say to me, oh, why are you getting so upset about Jews having money? I remind them of Ilan Hilmi. So that's why it's out there. That's why the timing of the book is now, because the economic crisis continues, the blame game continues, the internet is rife with conspiracies. And then why? So why write a book? Well, I wrote the book in the hope that I can shine a light a little bit to remind people of what stereotypes are about, how painful, how hurtful, how sinister, how dangerous they are if you let them just be. And it's really a call for good people, for parents to teach their children, for good people to have, we do, ADL does a lot of work in prejudice reduction, and we do it with primarily we start with the kids, and then at some point the kids say to us, so what do you want from us? And we say to them, we want you to have the courage to stand up and say no when you hear bigotry, when you hear prejudice, when you hear racism. And it sounds so simple, and it's not that simple. Look at the tragedies we've been witnessing with cyberbullying. Bullying is something that we have lived with in this country and society for so many years. Bullying from our perspective is bigotry, is hatred. I don't like you because of your color. I don't like you because of your ethnicity. I don't like you because of your religion. I don't like you because of your size. I don't like you because of your gender. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever is seen by a group as the other. And if you want to appreciate, and what is it? How many kids have the courage to stand up and say, no, don't say that? They don't. And that's how bullying not only scars, but now it kills, because now it's from the classroom, from the schoolyard, now it's global. And now we're seeing young people commit suicide because they can't cope with that bullying, which is now so global. And what sounds so simple is not that simple, but is oh so important and significant. And that is the ability to stand up and say, it's not funny. Don't say that. It's hurtful. And that simple ability to say, no, don't do it, is not that simple. It's not that easy. It's very, very, very difficult. And my hope is that maybe when people read it, maybe they'll have the courage next time when they hear somebody say, you Jewing me down, or her, to stand up and say, don't say that. I have a chapter which has been reviewed as saying a little bit entertaining, and it's said it's not funny. Jokes, ethnic jokes are not funny. Remember the period of Jap jokes? It's not funny. Jewish American princess jokes are rooted in the same stereotype of Jews and money, etc. It's not funny. It just reinforces. It's painful. And at the end, it's dangerous. And it's also, I guess, an appeal to political leaders, to spiritual leaders, to religious leaders, to have enough knowledge, information, to be able to condemn it, to be able to stand up and say that's not acceptable, that's not the values that we want. I'm now looking, it's not a fun book, but I think it's a book that if you read it, if you buy it, if you read it, I think you'll feel better about yourself as having better understood something that's out there, which many of us have ignored, sometimes at our peril. And it's a book I never thought I would have to write or need to write. But it's a book that I think may prevent some hurt, some pain, some anguish. We frequently say, never again. And we say it sometimes so often that I'm not sure we truly understand what it really signifies. But for me, writing this book is just another expression to put meaning into what, to those of us who have survived the Holocaust, the Shoah, has become an 11th commandment. And it's on Jewish, comes out of Jewish experience, but it's universal. And the never again basically is never again to be silent in the face of bigotry or prejudice or racism. Never again to be silent when someone is singled out for who they are, what they believe, what their sexual orientation is, whatever it is that makes them other and different. Never again to just stand by and ignore it and be apathetic. And that's truly the motivation. I wrote the book, so that more people understand that they have a responsibility, which is not that huge a task, but to be sensitive, to be respectful, but not only in their heart, to have the courage to stand up, to say no to bigotry. And that's what the book is about. You know what? Maybe it isn't a bad choice for a Hanukkah, post-Hanukkah, or Erev Christmas gift after all. Thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you. Am I hot? There. Thank you very much, Mr. Foxman, for reminding us so eloquently about the importance of respect for diversity and man's humanity to man, and how important it is, particularly at this time of year. We'd like to now open it up for question and answer. If you all would please make your questions questions and keep them short so that we can get to as many questions as we possibly can. I think Mr. Foxman will be with us for a little bit to answer a few questions, and then we'll be signing books, I believe, afterwards for any of you who would like to make that purchase as a holiday gift. Who's our first question? Let me see. Is there anyone? We're going to have to send the microphone through the room. I'm sorry, I have to be reminded of that because We are on television, and we need to make sure that the questions are heard live. So I'm going to ask Mr. Barkas to take the microphone around and hold it for you. Is there anyone who'd like to ask a question this evening over from this side of the room?
The gentleman in the balcony.
Hi, Mr. Foxman. My name is Garen Yakhbarian. Thank you for being here, but you probably won't like my overall question. I've been very offended by what you've done in essentially denying the Armenian genocide, and some of your closing remarks really spoke to how I feel about what you, and unfortunately, you're taking down the ADL with you in the eyes of many, by denying the Armenian genocide, by fighting its passage in the House of Representatives, rather a commemorative resolution, by apologizing to Turkey for offending them for what went on, by saying that the Armenian genocide is tantamount to genocide in a statement. These are all things that are fundamentally denialist. So my question to you is, when will you correct this very bad path that you are on? You fired people and so forth. When will you correct this? Are you willing to correct it so that the ADL's credibility isn't further besmirched? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I guess I will correct it when I stop beating my wife, but more seriously, because it's a very serious question. We have not denied the Armenian genocide. We have, from as long as I'm around in the ADL, described it as a massacre. We've described it as an atrocity. And we've called on the Turkish government to deal with it, to face the issue, to confront, start the history, and to engage in discussions, dialogue, and whatever comes from those dialogues, and a reconciliation with the Armenian people. What we haven't necessarily done is what you and some of your friends respectfully want, or not respectfully want, because some of our programs have been threatened, programs that provide sensitivity to prejudice, is you've insisted that we use your word genocide. We, the Jewish people, suffered a genocide. We don't insist that anybody call it Shoah or whatever, or Holocaust. Call it what you want. We have very, very clearly, throughout, I've been around for 45 years in the ADL. I've been director almost 25 years. You will find in our websites, you'll find in our language, you'll find in the materials that we teach that we have never denied it. We have always described it as a massacre, as an atrocity, and we've always called on the Turkish government to deal and to face it. On the issue of legislation, we have an opinion. We never fought it, we never lobbied against it, but when asked, we said, we do not believe that this issue, this painful issue, is going to be resolved by a resolution in Congress. We have again said, this is an issue that needs to be resolved by the two peoples, by the two nations. And I still believe to this day that a resolution in Congress is not going to resolve it. I believe that the beginning of the process, which we've seen in the last year, not totally successful, but the exchange of visits between the president of Turkey to Armenia and the president of Armenia to Turkey, is the beginning of a dialogue which hopefully will lead to reconciliation, which will lead to facing the past, which will lead to healing. But by good people demanding that we do this and that, unfortunately, that will not bring anybody back to life, nor will it resolve respectfully the issue of history.
Other questions? Mrs. Glacier. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead, and then we'll do Diana. That's right, let Mark go ahead, he's on speak, and then Tim will bring you the mic.